Hey y'all, welcome back. It's fucking Great Ace Attorney. Last episode, Von Zeeks is a dickhead and threw a bottle into the public gallery and killed a person. Jesus Christ. Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging a freshly uncorked bottle into the public gallery, and it shattering and killing a woman. But your words have soured its hallowed bouquet. For it is you, my learned friend, who is being heavy-handed here. You threw a bottle at someone, and you weren't even looking at them. You just did it because you could. What? Scotland Yard does not arrest people without good cause. That should be beyond question. Inspector Gregson, the prosecution calls for your formal testimony. Explain to the court precisely why the constabulary came to arrest the Nipponese student. Yes, sir. He's still got those chips. He really likes those. As I said, it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the incident occurred, and there was an unusually light fog. Visibility was reasonably good, and there was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. There's me and a number of old books he'd just bought. He was on his way home from a bookshop, it seems. It was just a matter of working out who the books belonged to, and we found the bloke to arrest him. So, I can already find the contradiction there. You said there was no one else around besides the victim and the accused, but I'm pretty sure the reporting officer witnessed him running away. Yes, my lord, I have a photograph here of the scene of the crime, taken immediately after the incident. Oh boy. Yes, I can clearly see the books to which you are referring. I will take that photographic print as evidence, please, Inspector. Alright. You Nipponese are a spineless breed, too cowardly to admit defeat. Denying everything despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. Well, Forgive me, Lord Van Zeeks, but the defendant is not denying everything, as you put it. What are you doing, Miss Sato? Do go on. Mr. Natsume has admitted to playing some part in the incident. Isn't that right, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now you mention it. When we visited him in the prison yesterday, he did tell us what had happened. As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed onto the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. A green overcoat? Well, that's exactly what the woman in that print is wearing. Oh my, a photographic print in full color. What will the world come up with next? The defendant has done nothing more than admit he fled the scene of a terrifying incident. That does not mean that he's guilty of the heinous crime of stabbing the woman in the back. There was nobody else there at the time, just the two of them, the victim and the accused. In other words, there is nobody else who could possibly have stabbed the woman. A fact that the accused concedes. It seems this cross-examination could prove to be pivotal, counsel. Proceed, please. Yes, my lord. Nothing for it. I have to use this cross-examination to turn the tables here. It's our only chance. Well, I'm pretty sure I already know the contradiction, if it's as easy as I think it is. So, to begin with, going to go ahead and save because I'm not 100% sure, and it seems too easy. We shall see, though. Wow, I cannot click through that. I have to wait. Oh, I guess. Oh, yeah, there it is. I don't know why I skipped over it. There was no one else about but the victim and the accused. Well, if you check this, it says the assailant was seen running away by the reporting officer and was successfully arrested the following day. So... Objection! Yep. Thought it was too easy. That reveals a damning inconsistency. That last statement. Damning, you say? As I look at you, counsel, I see your trembling hand, your pallid expression, and your perspiring brow. Huh? It seems to me that is the damning inconsistency here, with the misplaced confidence of your assertion. He has a damning tongue. You invited, sir. Yeah, that's what I expected. Even though it did seem pretty easy. So, we will reload, get my point of health back, and proceed to press everything. A light fog, you say? Well, light for London. You could see the opposite side of the street for once. Not much farther, though. That's light, is it? Around these parts, yes. Not something I'd expect a Japanese fellow like yourself to know, of course. I've read that London is famous for its fog, but in my country, people usually imagine that it gives the city a rather beautiful appearance. How quaint. Yes, well, it's not something us Londoners tend to romanticize, as I expect you can appreciate. I see. At this time of year, the fog causes a large number of accidents, especially when it's heavy. Sometimes you can't even see your own hand at the end of your arm. Indeed, the other day I was very nearly trampled by horses before I could see the carriage they were pulling. Susaru-san and I should definitely remember to stop, look, and listen. However, on the day that concerns us, the fog was somewhat lighter than usual. A fact no doubt lamented by the accused. Hold it! How are you able to state that with any certainty? Quite simply, my learned friend, because that is what the witnesses to this crime have told us. Now we're getting it. Ah yes, Inspector Gregson mentioned the witnesses yesterday, didn't he? That's right. One of them is a policeman, I believe, from Scotland Yard. That is correct, ma'am. Then we must hear their testimony. The prosecution will of course call them to the stand, should it be necessary. But wait a minute. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the middle of winter? It would have been dark already. No matter how light the fog might have been, no one could have seen. I'm unaware of the situation on your tiny island in the east. But here in the capital city of Great Britain, all main roads are illuminated in the night by gas streetlights. The prosecution believes there would have been ample light by which to witness the crime. Quite. Here in London, for the first time in history, mankind has completely conquered the darkness. Which means we really need to hear those witness statements. If I could just get through the fog of this cross-examination, maybe we'll be able to. It seems the counsel for the defense is taking stock. Continue with your testimony, Inspector. Out of the blue, the victim was stabbed from behind and subsequently collapsed on the pavement. Hold it! From behind, you say? That's right, as you can see from this print. Oops. May have just broken a cup. That's fun. I'll clean that up later. I'm recording now. Breaking cups is for losers. Yes, quite so, Inspector. The handle of the weapon is clearly protruding from the victim's back. And you say this poor woman, Miss Green, remains in critical condition? Comatose, no less? I'm afraid so, my lord. Yes, she's being treated at Bart's. I was hopeful that she'd come round before the trial started so I could take a statement, but it wasn't to be. Yes, that is indeed a pity. It would have been most illuminating to hear the victim's own account of events. Luck is on your client's side, it seems. On the contrary, my client has been exceedingly unlucky. Your force of tone is seriously undermined by those disturbingly wide eyes, I'm afraid. Yeah, we're not very good at controlling our body language. The accused ran off, scattering his belongings all over the floor. Hold it! Mr. Natsume's belongings? I think you'll find it's all there in the photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, the 3 books on the floor. That's right, my lord. Second-hand books they were. Irreparably damaged after falling in the snow, of course. The accused could easily have carried all 3 books in one hand, which means his other hand would have been free to wield a knife, for example. He's very clever, isn't he? What do you mean? He's made it extremely hard for you to assert that Mr. Natsume had his hands full with his books. He's managed to close one of the avenue of escape we might have had before we even knew it was there. You mean to say that the defendant was holding his belongings as he thrust the knife into the woman's back? That must be what happened, my lord, yes. Hold it! The defendant apparently visits a second-hand bookshop on a daily basis. Yes, so I understand. A shop full of old English literature. I commend the accused on the lofty subject matter of his scholarly attention. The bloke's room was stacked floor to ceiling with those musty old books. Can you tell us more about the bookshop in question, please, Inspector? Well, if I must, I'll have to ask you to look at the street map again, I'm afraid. Wow, it's literally right there. The closest second-hand bookshop to the accused's lodgings is this place here, Bourbon Books. Little place on the corner of Briar Road and Meerschaum Street. As it happens, the accused is currently living in lodgings on the other side of Briar Road at the opposite end, which means it doesn't take a genius to work out the route he would have taken home. Something like this. Yes, I concur with your conclusion, Inspector. The defendant would certainly have passed the scene of the crime on his way home from that particular shop. Mr. Naruhodo, I think that what the inspector just told us could turn out to be of vital importance. Yes, I agree. The most important point that the inspector just made being... well, let me just scroll up and look at this real quick. Bourbon Books. So... let me check that real quick. Your books. Uh-huh. The name. Inspector Gregson, may I ask you a favor? What? Would you kindly add the name of the bookshop to your formal testimony, please? I believe it may be of vital importance. Maybe? Oh, well, you know. I mean, yes. It could be a very important clue. That was 100% of Phoenix Bluff sort of sprite there. Iconic even. Very well, not that I could see it being of any great significance, but please revise your testimony accordingly, Inspector. Yes, sir, my lord. Whatever you say. Could the man be any more sardonic? Yes. So this is where we go. So yeah. No, he went from your book.
Objection!
If I could just stop you there, Inspector Gregson. What is it, Sunshine? I'm a busy man, you know. This is a receipt that we found in Mr. Natsume's room. It was issued on the day of the incident and details the purchase of 3 secondhand books. And you found that in the accused's room, did you? Yes, but the point is not where the receipt was found, but the name of the shop printed on it. Go on. This receipt was issued from a bookshop called Your Books. Your Books? Y-O-R-E, I presume? Yes, my lord. So, Mr. Natsume did indeed purchase a number of books at a secondhand shop that day. However, the bookshop in question was not Bourbon Books. Eh? What? Inspector, do you know of this other bookshop? Yes, sir. Your Books is another secondhand bookshop not far from Bourbon Books. It's just that, well, it's such a small place, I didn't think the accused would have known about it. But in fact, that is the bookshop which the defendant visited on the day in question. And this receipt proves it.
Objection!
Yes, for what difference it makes. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis.
Objection!
I disagree. I mean, after all, I have the street map here if that might be of help. Oh, yes, thank you. Have a look at this, please. If the defendant had been returning from Bourbon Books, then yes, he would almost certainly have passed the place where Miss Green was attacked. However, if we take into account the fact that he was actually at another bookshop, Your Books, it may very well turn out that he wouldn't have passed that location at all. Could that be true?
My, it rather depends on where this other bookshop is, but I do declare it may be a possibility.
Is that right, Mr. Lawyer, sir? Is what you just said? Absolutely. It could absolutely be right. Inspector Gregson, where is this Your Books establishment? Well, obviously we looked into that. Turns out that Your Books is just here on the next corner of Meerschaum Street going east. I don't know if that exactly helps us. He could still have gone the way that... He could still have gone that way, but we also could say that he went the other direction too. And there you have it. You can, as you can clearly see now. Oh. Where'd you get another one? My learned Nipponese friend is obviously in training to be a clown the way he regales us with such witticisms. Dude, that's my fucking favorite. Is there a clown costume around somewhere? I would love to have a clown costume. To your future career in the circus. Ah, it's the meme. Yeah, we'll take a screenshot of that. There we go. You put that glass down now, or I'll put it down for you. Wow. Okay. I, didn't think I needed to spell it out, but here we go. If the accused was coming home from Your Books instead of Bourbon Books, there's no doubt he still would have passed the place where the victim was stabbed. Yes, thank you, Inspector. Allow me to reiterate for my learned, if somewhat slow, Nipponese friend. Wherever the man purchased his musty tomes, it makes no difference in the final analysis. Ah! As I suspected, you can't fool me, and I don't suggest you try. What did I say, eh? I've had enough of this now.
Beg your pardon. Terribly sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Mr. Naruhodo, we mustn't give up. What do you mean? If the prosecution's assertion is correct, the members of the jury may very well decide that Mr. Natsume is guilty. She's absolutely right. We must consider the assertion just put forward by the prosecution very, very carefully. They claim Soseki-san must have passed the location of the incident on his way home from your books, but I'll raise an objection on that one. The assertion just made by the prosecution is fundamentally flawed. Explain yourself, counsel. Yes, my lord. You can see what I mean on this map. When returning from your books to his lodgings, Mr. Natsume could have followed the route suggested by the prosecution. However, that isn't the only conceivable route to take between the two places. If the defendant used these streets, look what happens. He arrives back at his lodgings without passing the location where the victim was attacked.
Objection!
Talking back to a clown is a fool's errand, of course. However, I feel compelled to point out that that route is what is commonly referred to as the long way round. Ah. On a cold winter's night, why would any man choose to take a longer route home? Well, the answer is extremely simple. He wouldn't. In other words, the accused took the obvious route back to his lodgings, and is the obvious perpetrator of this crime. But, aha, yes, I've got it. Obviously, we must ask the man himself. Ask Mr. Natsume which route he took home. I have already informed the court of the accused's response to such questioning. He claims he has no recollection. That's right. As I said, the bloke seems to spend his time outside wandering aimlessly from A to B. That day was no exception. He says he doesn't remember where he was or which route he took home. I don't believe this! I thank you, my learned friend, and suggest that we do not waste any more of the court's time by wandering aimlessly around this subject. Pray, what say you, insightful jurors? This is not going well for us so far. But even if that is the case, oh, all of them. I agree with Lord Van Zeeks. Wholeheartedly and in every way. That's simply because we were being a dickhead to you last time. What? I don't believe it. Does this mean we members of the jury are completely convinced now? Very well. In that case, I hereby call upon all members of the jury to present your findings to the court.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! Guilty!
Well, we at least got to hear what all six of them sound like before I butcher their voices a bit more. It would appear the jury's leaning is unanimous. Well, time to do that thing again. My favorite thing. To the insightful members of the jury, I applaud your brave resolve. You serve Queen and country admirably. Mr. Naruhodo. Well. No, not yet. This isn't over yet. I still have one last chance to sway the opinion of the jury. I have tip the balance of those scales the other way. I have to turn this around. Somehow. Those are the eyes of Quarry, not yet willing to give up and die. So I presume you intend to wield your rights again in this trial. Rights of the defense written into antiquated British law that should have been buried long ago. Call it antiquated if you will, but it's the defense's prerogative to carry out a summation examination if it so chooses. Very well, counsel. In accordance with the letter of the law, we shall proceed with the summation examination. Are the members of the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Of course we're ready. I'm all too familiar with that Nipponese whippersnapper and his uncas' refusal to throw in his alley. Very well then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. Well then, the jurors' contentions. For pity's sake, that little Nipponese oddity already admitted it himself, didn't he?
If he said that a woman in green collapsed before his eyes, why, it can only have been the victim.
The man wouldn't have gone round the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter. So the poor woman was attacked from behind, was she? How dreadful. I really don't care. Can we just wrap this up now? I've got work to be doing. The old books, yes. Nice shop, that. But bourbon books? No, not worth a visit. With only minor exceptions, the reasons for finding the defendant guilty are all too clear. When the stabbing occurred, the only two people at the scene were the victim and the accused. And the accused himself has admitted to seeing the victim in her green overcoat sink to the ground before his eyes. Furthermore, we have heard from the inspector that the defendant then fled the scene. He fed the scene. He didn't flee it, he fed it. He gave it a nice juicy steak. I must say, I would have ample grounds to convict this man already.
Oh dear, even the judge appears convinced of Mr. Natsume's guilt now.
Why did he have to run away like that? And how are we supposed to believe in some phantom attacker that nobody could see? This is impossible. How can I possibly make a case for the defense?
Mr. Naruhodo, this is no time for grumbling. If we want to force the trial to continue...
Yes, I know. I have to turn the tide. I must make the jurors change their minds. Well, 4 of them at least.
Exactly. We have no choice but to forge forward.
You have the floor, counsel. Begin your summation examination. Yes, my lord. Bam. Just need to keep this trial going somehow, whatever it takes. Come on, Ryunosuke, you can do it. Boy. Let us see what we can scrounge up here. Alright. So I can actually press each one of these.
Hold it!
Interesting. So we'll do that now. Excuse me, but aren't you... Yes, that's right. I was in the witness stand myself just 2 days ago. Yes, I had a feeling I knew your face. Or the sight of it, anyway. If I remember correctly, you're a banker, aren't you? That's right. After the gold rush down under, I came back to London to work. It was all going swimmingly until you just started fossicking around. Bruce Fairplay was a man of repute. So wait a minute, did I guess right? He said... the gold rush down under. Huh. Interesting. So I did guess right that he's Australian. Sorry? Don't think I've forgotten how you treated me the other day. You had me and that young hatter pegged as criminals. Oh, well, you know, water under the bridge. Now there's all sorts of rumors buzzing about, and the police have begun badgering me non-stop. if I could turn back the clock. Well, anyway, I don't know about the hatter, but at least I'm in the clear now. I'm free to make up my own mind about who's guilty and who isn't. Ah, thank goodness. Alright, maybe I might struggle to change this man's mind, given our awkward history.
Oh dear, I wonder what's become of Mr. First now.
Alright, so I'm just going to continue to press every single one of these. You're right that at the time of the incident, the defendant admits to having seen someone wearing a green overcoat walking ahead of him.
Well, quite. That's precisely my point. Clearly that someone wearing green was the victim. And clearly that funny little Nipponese man with the disturbing mustache is the culprit.
But let us not forget, madam, the defendant vehemently denies attacking the woman.
Why, of course he does. If he admits to stabbing her, his life is over. The man is obviously a liver-faced coward, honestly, claiming the woman simply collapsed before his eyes.
But if that's a lie, as you're suggesting, do you not think he would have concocted something more credible?
Oh, I really couldn't say. After all, you are foreign. Who's to say what goes through your funny little minds?
Wow, fuck you, you dumb bitch. I could tell you what's going through my funny little mind right now, but you wouldn't like it. Yeah, it was the same.
I do declare the man has already made the admission. He himself has stated there was nobody else around. Surely the conclusion is obvious. No one else could possibly have committed this awful crime except for me and my fucking white racist ass.
Alright, I'm done.
If no one else could have done it, the accused must be the man. Really, it couldn't be more simple.
Your argument is compelling in its simplicity, I must admit.
Oh my, you are too kind, my lord.
Wow, you're a big kiss ass to the fucking people who agree with you, aren't you? That went well for her. It won't in a little bit. The man wouldn't have gone around the houses on his way back from the bookshop, not in winter.
Hold it!
But you can't deny that there are other routes that Mr. Natsume could have taken back from your books.
Oh yes, like you drew on the map, you mean? What was it? Calabash Road or something?
Precisely.
But it seems to me that what counts is whether the little Japanese fellow actually went that way or not.
Well, yes, that's true.
And at the moment, there's no proof that shows that he did, is there?
Well, yes, that's true as well.
And as I understand it, the accused himself doesn't remember which way he went, does he?
Well, yes, that's annoyingly true.
Winter nights are dark and cold, so the way I see it, you'd want to get home as quickly as possible.
Well, yes. Why is this all true?
So really, the only thing that makes sense is that he went home along Briar Road.
I'm supposed to be convincing you here.
I've given it a lot of thought, you know. I didn't just make up my mind on a whim that he did it. I mean, if there was some logical reason why he might have gone the Calabash Roadway, it'd be different. I'd be happy to reconsider my position in that case. Honest, I would.
A reason why Soseki-san might have taken the longer way home.
Yes, a good reason. I don't imagine you'll be able to sway this young man's opinion without one.
Hold it!
Whatever's the matter, young man?
You're the wife of Mr. Garadeb, aren't you? The landlord who rents Mr. Natsume's room. Oh no! Don't reveal that shit here.
The master's wife? Where do you get your ideas, sir? I'm the maid. The maid, you understand?
She's keeping up that charade. This is gonna be awkward. Why didn't you mention this yesterday? That you'd been selected for the jury in this trial, I mean?
Well, I was told not to mention it to anyone until the day of the trial, you see. It was in the letter I received. The instructions were very clear, so I'm afraid I had no choice.
I see. Anyway, Mr. Natsume, the defendant takes lodging in your master's house, doesn't he?
Yes, that's right. Although he's only been in a little over a week now.
and in that time, surely he must have taken stock of his character. So wait a minute, he accumulated all those books in his room in 1 week? Holy shit. Does Mr. Natsume look like the kind of man who would commit a crime such as this? Oh my goodness me, yes, he's just the sort. What? Spending all his time in that dark and dingy room, sporting that unscrupulous mustache. The man never speaks, and don't get me started on those shifty eyes. All the neighbors are talking about him. I've heard them, you know. People think he must be building a bomb in there or something. Oh dear, poor Mr. Natsume. How could people say such things about them? Because they're assholes. He's just a harmless bookworm, nothing more. Well, you just called him a worm, so... Anyway, I better be careful about inviting this maid to speak. She's said enough damning things already.
Hold it!
Why are you doing this? A man's life is on the line here, sir. This will take as long as it takes. Don't get clever with me now, son. My life's on the line too, and so is my family's. Ah. The likes of you wouldn't understand, but a laborer like me can't afford to take time off. If I don't work, I don't eat, and neither do the wife and kids. Oh, I see. That must be very hard. I go to the union every morning to find out what needs doing. If you're late and work's taken, it's tough. This time of year, there's water and gas supply pipes bursting left, right, and center. We're after cheap labor to get the roads dug up to fix it. It's a hard slog from dawn till dusk it is. So, you were out digging up the roads on the day of the incident as well, were you? That's right. In fact, if I remember rightly, it was just around the corner from where it all happened. By that old bookshop it was. What? Another coincidence? That's right. Meerschaum Street it was. Meerschaum Street? On the map, Mr. Naruhodo, there are only 3 named streets. Juror number 5, I need you to add that information to your formal statement, please. What's the point in that? Can't we just get this business over with now? Please, sir, it's important. Fine, I'll do it then. This is a big one. Uh-huh.
Objection!
Gotcha. Those 2 statements are clearly at odds with one another. At odds, counsel? Explain yourself. Please don't point. It wasn't me, I swear. What? I just want to get this done and dusted. Well, juror number 3? Oh, me, sir? What do you mean? Juror number 5's words just now are extremely significant. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of what's been said on our map of the local area. On the day in question, Mr. Natsume visited this bookshop to purchase a number of secondhand books. And on the same day, we now know that there were works being carried around on Meerschaum Street, making it impassable, which means that the defendant's route home could not have taken him along Meerschaum Street and down Briar Road. Oh yes, of course! What do you think, sir? Well, yes, you can't argue with that really, can you? We must have had a good 2 yards or more of the pavement dug up. Every gentleman and gentlewoman that came along had to turn back and go the other way. So the only conclusion is this. The defendant must have taken the longer route back to his lodgings. Yes, I suppose he must have. I suppose that must be right, eh? Juror number 3, you said the following. The man wouldn't have gone around to the houses on his way back from the bookshop. But we now see that he had no choice. Yes! My lord, Mr. Judge, sir, if I may? Yes? I don't think that in all good conscience that I can say the man's guilty now. Yes, I'd like to see this trial continue so we can get to the bottom of what really happened. What about you, sir? Who, me? Well, alright then. There's a hole in the prosecution's argument. It should be filled in. That's what I say.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. That was wonderful.
Well, we've managed to change a couple of minds at least. It strengthened our position somewhat.
Yes, and it will prompt the other members of the jury to reconsider their stance as well. They'll be asking themselves if their current leanings are really right or not. Now, if we could just identify one more clue or discrepancy that would make them stop doubting Mr. Natsume, we might be able to tip the balance completely.
Yes, that's exactly what we've got to do. Von Zieks is looking to bring this trial to an early conclusion. That's what we have to prevent, by whatever means we have at our disposal.
Thank you, Counsel. On with the summation examination, please.
Yes, my lord. Alright. We haven't pressed this yet.
Huh? Sorry? Fold it, you say? Fold what?
Instead of hold it. No. What I said was hold it. What I wanted to ask was, do you visit your books often?
I like the old books they have in there, yes. I enjoy reading them over a nice cup of old tea. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all thinking about.
And at what time did you visit your books on the day in question?
Well, I was picking out books in there all afternoon, and it would have had to have been just before 5 that I left. That's my daily routine, you see. Same thing every day, including the day you're all thinking about.
Just before 5, you say, exactly when the victim was attacked. Are you sure about the time?
Oh yes, no mistake there. I remember it well. I'm not about to forget that day in a hurry. Not after the dreadful time I had.
What do you mean?
Well, I was walking down Calabash Road when I slipped on the ice and donked my head. It's always worse after the snow stopped falling. That's when it's most slippery. Knocked myself clean out, I did. I really thought my number was up.
Wait a minute, let me get this straight. This happened on Calabash Road?
That's right. I live in Cornpipe, you see. Heading down Calabash Road is the quickest way for me to get back from your books.
Juror number 6, I must insist that you add that information to your formal statement. It may very well be extremely significant.
Sorry, extremely sick. No, I'm all quite right now. Do you want to see me do a kickflip? I like extremely sick things too.
Jesus Christ. The characters in this game. Oh, oops. I'm so used to when I'm playing with this stuff on my own to just skip through dialogue at the end of these things so that I can just get right back into it, but I forgot that I'm doing a Let's Play for a minute.
You've changed 2 of the jurors' minds, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, just 2 more to go.
Deliver the finishing blow now. It's time to turn the tables here.
Wish I knew how to do a Susato takedown. I suppose words will have to suffice for now. Maybe we'll learn at some point. But yes, that's going to be it for this episode. This one's running into the 40s already, so yeah, gonna end this one here, and we will find out the second set of conflicting statements here in the next episode. Thank you guys very much for watching. Please subscribe. Need more people to watch these videos of me rambling and doing nonsensical things with Great Ace Attorney characters. So yes, thank you guys once again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.